Sredni Vashtar is a masterful short story that continues to fascinate readers with its dark humor, subversive narrative, and exploration of complex power dynamics. Sredni Vashtar is a short story by Saki, also known as H. Munro, first published in 1912. It follows Conradin, a sickly and oppressed boy who secretly worships a pet ferret as a god, naming it Sredni Vashtar. Living under the cruel guardianship of his cousin, Mrs. de Rapp, Conradin finds solace in his ritualistic devotion to the animal. When Mrs. de Rapp attempts to dispose of the ferret, it ultimately turns on her, fulfilling Conradin's unspoken prayers. The story explores themes of repression, power, and the dark desires of childhood. Saki, a closeted gay man known for his satirical and macabre tales, wrote during the Edwardian era, a time marked by rigid social structures and colonial dominance. His works often critique authority figures and expose the cruelty lurking beneath polite society. In today's world, where debates about individual freedom, resistance to authority figures, and the celebration of the marginalized remain relevant, Sredni Vashtar becomes ever more important. One of the central themes in the story is the struggle against authority. Conradin's life is dominated by the controlling presence of his custodial cousin, whose cold and dismissive attitude represents the stifling forces of an uncaring society. In this atmosphere, the ferret Sredni Vashtar is transformed into a godlike figure, an embodiment of untamed, chaotic power that stands in direct opposition to the mundane autonomy of his everyday life. His act of secret worship is not only a form of escapism and imagination, it is an assertion of personal independence from the societal system. The ferret illustrates that even the most insignificant or powerless things, in the eyes of today's society, can become sources of strength when reimagined outside of typical norms. Another significant theme is the power of imagination as a means of survival. Conradin's inner life is richly cultivated through his secret rituals and the vivid mythology he builds around Sredni Vashtar, the chief figure in his pantheon. His imaginative world stands in stark contrast to the drab bleakness of his reality, offering him solace and a sense of control in an environment that otherwise robs him of agency. In modern times, this speaks to the importance of creative expression in the face of adversity. Whether it is through art, literature, film, music, or digital media, individuals today continue to use imaginative outlets to cope with the pressures of societal norms and their own personal struggles. Sredni Vashtar also explores the theme of the inversion of the natural order. The story eventually subverts the typical power hierarchy. Instead of the child being the perpetual victim, Conradin's secret devotion to the ferret leads to him supplanting his cousin. This reversal is both disturbing and liberating. It challenges conventional morality by suggesting that there can be humor, beauty, and even righteousness in the act of rebellion against unjust power, including violent acts such as the mauling and death of the cousin. In the current social and political climate, marked by movements that question established hierarchies and advocate for radical, sometimes violent change, this inversion resonates powerfully. Saki seems to be telling readers that subversion and violent dissent are not inherently evil, but can be catalysts for deeply transformative, positive change. Furthermore, the narrative's darkly ironic tone adds still more depth to its themes. Saki employs a style that is at once witty and menacing, using humor as a means to critique the absurdity of social conventions. This approach allows him to playfully undermine the authority figures in the story, while also conveying a very real sense of danger. In today's society, where satire and irony are potent tools for political and social commentary, as they always have been, Saki's method of blending humor with horror remains remarkably effective. His work encourages a kind of critical distance, a playful yet pointed reminder that power, no matter how formidable, is always subject to ridicule and critique. At its core, Sredni Vashtar is a meditation on the nature of freedom and the ways in which the oppressed, be they little boys or oppressed minorities, can reclaim their voice. Conradin's devotion to his secret deity symbolizes the latent power that resides in every individual, even those who appear weak or marginalized. The ferret, with its wild, uncontrollable nature, and a name which evokes the Hindu gods of colonial India, is a metaphor for the suppressed desires and unspoken longings that defy the rigid constraints of a conformist, imperialist society. Today, as discussions about mental health, identity, and autonomy become increasingly central to public discourse, the story's portrayal of hidden inner strength strikes a deep chord with many readers. Ultimately, Saki's Sredni Vashtar remains unique and compelling because it encapsulates the perennial human struggle against oppression through a narrative that is both unsettling and darkly humorous. Its exploration of themes such as rebellion against authoritarian control, the redemptive power of imagination, and the subversion of traditional power structures is as relevant now as it was at the time of its publication. By daring to elevate the seemingly insignificant, a ferret, or a terminally ill boy, into a symbol of ultimate power and defiance, Saki invites modern readers to reflect on the empowering ability of resistance. In a world where individual expression is often suppressed by societal and institutional forces, Sredni Vashtar stands as a timeless reminder that imagination, creativity, and free will always defy rigid social structures.